Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Asmiti bhikkhave panditame tang ayang ahang asmiti panditame tang ti. Dear friends in Dhamma, so as you all know, we are making use of Dhamma sermon in order to deliver the Buddha's teaching, in order to discuss the Buddha's teaching, and again to communicate the Buddha's teaching. Because this is not something that we are trying to do by ourselves, but we are taking certain amount of guidance from the Buddha's teaching, and it is a must, otherwise we are going in our own different ways. So for that, how we need to get some guidance is through the suttas, through the sort of, we can say, the Tripitaka, the three canons, three baskets, where the Sutta Pitaka, Vinaya Pitaka and the Abhidhamma Pitaka are available. And particularly we are using the Sutta Pitaka to get fair amount of guidance. Actually, last month we have taken one particular sutta that is called Yavakalapi Sutta. Actually, that is what I already has used in Nissarana in the Sinhala retreat for 10 days. So you have to be little bear with me who has participated to that retreat because the same thing you have to listen from the same but in a different language, by the way. So this sutta actually I personally really like because it is starting with very beautiful similes and again talking a very deep Dhamma which are more relevant to our conceptual proliferation, different kinds of conceiving, and how our minds are going on and ultimately giving us a big trouble. So nowadays actually most of the people are thinking too much. So when compared with the old days, say our ancestors, they are very simple human beings. I mean, they have their simple lifestyles and they are quite innocent. So their, say, mentality seems to be quite simple. But today we are maintaining a very complicated lifestyles. Our minds are going on, thinking on various complex mental patterns. And ultimately we are the ones going to suffer. So therefore, I mean, it is not only that we have to develop certain amount of, say, restraint, say, ethical side, sila part, morality part, but also we need to think about what we are thinking. We need to be careful on what we are thinking. Because thinking is also a very difficult area if you are not handling it properly. Even on yesterday, actually, I had a chat with one of the participants who were in Nissarana. So he was subjected to the recent, say, economic bankruptcy happened in Sri Lanka. And he was mentioning, and actually he has been kind of a depressed person for some time. And he was telling, even kind of a single thought is sometimes again and again coming to the mind and completely making him collapse. And he said that it is more than shooting myself, it's more than hitting me from a weapon. It is the same thought or kind of a really, we can say a kind of a depressive thought. When it is coming, I am completely collapsed. I don't know what to do. I went through that sort of a real depressed mood in my life, and it is so difficult, it is so depressive. And he very honestly mentioned what the kind of the heaviness, what the kind of the gravity available in our thinking. So therefore you all may know. So whenever we can't stop our thinking, whenever we understand certain thoughts are quite harmful, then we may be willing to stop that. But unfortunately, again and again the same thought still may be coming. So we are not in a position to stop that. So in that sense, we are kind of helpless. So that is why even in the afternoon, when we were discussing about the conceptual proliferation with respect to the Madhupundika Sutta, so we understood, as we are continuing in the sort of thinking process, ultimately we can come to a situation where we become completely helpless. We are like slaves to our own kind of thinking. And mind goes on, and ultimately we are helpless. And not only that, that can lead to various conflicts, various arguments, various battles, etc., etc. So, therefore, the mind, therefore, is the forerunner, mind is the chief. And ultimately, the people are quarreling, but internally defilements are the ones quite responsible. So, the similes given in this sutta represent two sides. The first one actually given with respect to the name of the sutta, that is the Yavakalapi, that means the sheaf of barley. We can consider any kind of grain. Here, Yava means barley. So anyway, if we have taken any sort of grain, so if we are using most primitive methods to take the harvest, so that is using some kind of equipment or tool called flail. So that flail has a long stick, and to that there's a connected small stick which has a kind of a binding. And then you can properly hit the sheaf of barley using a heavy blow. So Buddha mentioned there are 7 people coming from 7 directions. Actually 6 people coming from 6 directions, and they continuously do that striking to the same sheaf of barley. And as a result of that, what would happen? What would happen? So when they are coming and hitting or striking the sheaf of barley using that flail, that whole sheaf of barley would become almost like powdered, right? Because it is a heavy blow that each strong such person is striking to that sheaf of barley. And that is a traditional method of removing the, husk, and then getting only the grains. But here they don't stop only when the grains are available, that they continue to struck, and ultimately they become even like powdered. And interestingly, Buddha has added another 7th person who is again coming and hitting the same sheaf of barley. And with that simile Buddha mentioned, so people are continuously subjected to various sensory impingement. Say through the eyes we are seeing various sights, and through that we become somewhat overwhelmed by various kinds of thoughts. It may be kind of lustful thoughts, it may be hateful thoughts, jealousy thoughts, restless thoughts, miserly kind of thoughts. So different kinds of thoughts are again and again building up, but the ignition happens through the eye. So similarly, people are going through listening to various sounds, and that too can agitate your mind, and again mind can become quite vulnerable, and basically mind is going through kind of too much thinking, overwhelmed by thinking. It can happen. Similarly, the odors, when you are smelling various kinds of odors, again the thinking process can be initiated, and again you start thinking. So ultimately you become kind of victimized to that very thinking. Similarly, various tastes, same process. Various tangibles, the same thought, same process. And even when a thought comes to the mind, we don't know how to handle it. We don't know how to let it go. And we start fabricating that, we start thinking about that, we start adding to that, and ultimately we start more and more thinking, and ultimately we are becoming kind of helpless. So, and that is the 6 sense bases that Buddha used, and metaphorically he used those 6 people coming from 6 different directions. So what's the 7th person? So why Buddha has added the 7th person? 7th one? What do you think? Is it the 7th eye? So he mentioned that this person even think about the next life. He is planning about the next life. So I become a God Sakka, may I become the Mara, whatever the best person in the Almighty God, whatever it is. So the person is still even thinking about the future lives, and that also added to this whole process of thinking. So you can see we are like addicted to thinking. We keep on thinking, and the thinking can initiate it through our sense perceptions or sense, say, impingements coming through the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and even the mind. And mind can even imagine, or we can say anticipate, hope, expect, wish, and all these things are there. Ultimately, we are kind of subjected to this kind of addiction to thinking. And that is one story now Buddha mentioned. That is actually the, we can say, most, say, gross kind of way that Buddha mentioned through a simile. So what is the kind of agitation or suffering that we are going through that such kind of thinking? On the other hand, there is another simile available in this sutta that is also quite interesting, which is related to a war between devas and asuras. So you can see even today humans and two human groups, many human groups are quarreling each other. So there is no much difference in the deva realm also. So don't wish to go there. When you are going there may be another war. You may have to participate in that. So anyway, so there was a war between the devas and asuras, and it has happened long time ago. And Buddha mentioned, and there was a kind of a agreement or kind of a plan in the both sides. So the devas having a plan, so the god Sakka instructing his people or his devas that you should win this battle and capture the king of the asuras. What is his name? Vepachitti. So Vepachitti is the king of the asuras. So you should capture Vepachitti from the 4 limbs and the neck, and you have to bind him and take him to the assembly hall. It is called Sudhamma. So that is the Devas assembly hall. And so it is interesting. Even the names are mentioned, so you can plan for that. Think for the next life. And then similarly, the asuras are also instructing. The Vepachitta is instructing to the fellow asuras. So you should win the battle and you should capture King Sakka and bind him through the 5 places, the 4 limbs and the neck, and take him to our assembly hall. So that was their plan. And now the battle has gone through, and who won the battle? Devas won the battle, not the asuras. Devas won the battle. And then they captured the asura king, the Vepachitti. And they were taking him to the Sudhamma, the assembly hall, and now he was bound through a special bond, kind of a bond. Interesting point here is Buddha mentioned, the moment he think, that means the king of the asura, the Vepachitti think, devas are righteous. Devas are righteous, asuras are unrighteous. I better stay with the devas, enjoying all the blissful states of this deva realm. If he thinks like that, what happens? He feel freed. He release all the kind of bondages and he start enjoying all the pleasures of the deva realm. Do you think that he would think like that? Because they were fighting each other, so it is quite unlikely that he would think like that, because he is the enemy of the devas. So the opposite is the other side. That means he may think asuras are righteous, devas are unrighteous, therefore I need to escape from devas and I should go back to the asura realm. So that may be the most possible thought may occur to him. When he think like that, what happened? So his binding become more and more tight, and he becomes squeezed, and he is incapable of getting free. So therefore now Buddha mentioned, So this is the possibility, or this is the nature of that Vepachittis binding. Vepachittis, say, shackling. And there Buddha further mentioned, even subtler is the Mara's bondage. Now Vepachitta is going through his own bondage. Who is subjected to the Mara's bondage? We all. So we all are subjected to that subtle or subtler Mara's bondage. And here, very interestingly, Buddha mentioned, Manyamano bhikkhave baddho marassa, amanyamano mutto papimato. So that's a kind of a motto that we can kind of remember with all this sutta. Manyamano bhikkhave baddho marassa, amanyamano mutto papimato. So that means, in conceiving, one is bonded by the Mara. By not conceiving, one is freed. So if you can remember, okay, when you are conceiving, you are being bonded by the Mara. When you are not conceiving, you are freed from the Mara. Simple as that. So now try not conceiving. Can you? Conceiving. So means I-based or I-centered thinking. Manyamano. So Manyamano means I-centered, different kinds of thinking, imaginations. So that is what we discussed last month. So this Manyati. Manyati is a term referred for thinking, and it is more into imagination and I-centered imagination. So I am here and I am itself is an imagination. So very subtlest form of I am is an imagination, thinking, conceiving. I am this is a conceiving, imagination. Now, I would be or I shall be like him. I shall be like her. I shall be the president. I shall be the this and that. So, all these are conceiving. Now, say we have various hopes, different wishes. So, whenever you are thinking, okay, you may have your own ambitions. I shall be the president of Sri Lanka. Now, very interesting character. So, likewise, say you have those kind of very interesting ambitions in you. So, at that moment, what is happening to you? So, you become a special person. You become sort of motivated. You become uplifted by your ego. You are not a simple civilian, but you are feeling like special. So, that is the moment that I-ness become more significant, or you can recognize. But the previous occasions, you are very much like no one. You are a simple, common person, just a civilian. But the moment you think, okay, I should win the battle, I should beat the person, I should, say, pass the exam, okay, I should get the promotion. So whatever it is. So at that moment, that I-ness become more stronger. I become more stronger. I am the one. I am the best. So you can imagine how our ego can be uplifted, the individuality can be uplifted. We feel like an individual. Previously we were like no one. But then we become someone. We become a VIP. We become a special person. Not a normal person. Very important person. So who like to be an important person and who don't like to be an important person? Anyone of here? Anyone who like to be just a commoner? But we as individual, we always want to be a special, right? So I should be the best. I should be the fastest. I should be the best singer. I should be the, say, even when I am telling, okay, I should be the best common person. Then all the others are trying different. Okay, I am not a such person. So I am different. Even that, again we become trapped. So you can imagine, it's very, very subtle. So the moment we become kind of an individual, even though sometimes it may be most, say, sublime kind of thought, if I am thinking it with more I-ness, more individuality, more kind of a strong personality, then it indicates that I am bounded by the Mara. I am being captured. I am being sort of deceived. by the very thinking. And then we discussed the second part. Actually, I am just reminding what we discussed last time. The second part is what we call as injita. Injita means based from the craving. So because of craving also, the I can be highlighted. Oh, this is my house. This is my car. I just bought it. So whenever, say, you buy a car, suppose you won a lottery, or whatever it is, then you kind of more possessive about that. Say you got a newborn baby as a mother. Assume that this is your first baby. And when others are coming, okay, you are quite delighted to show, oh, this is my little kid. See how beautiful she is. He's my son. So as parents, so when our children are doing good, and we get the credit, and we as parents, we like to get that credit, and we become proud of our children's performance, and maybe our students' performance, our country performance, our whatever it is. And we can even become sort of shameful about the country performance. Assume that, say your children have done something wrong. Then you have kind of a possession towards that person or that child, and you feel, oh, what the hell he has done. So because you are suffering, because you have a kind of a strong attachment to him. So the I can be highlighted because of this attachment, because of this craving, because of this desire, the possessiveness. And ultimately what happens, you feel trembled, you feel disturbed because of this craving. So the injita, not mere kind of craving, but the kind of trembling happens within you because of craving. Say, for example, while you are traveling, suppose all of a sudden, say, kind of an accident happens. So immediately the I can come out and please help me, please help me, please help me. So the I is now coming out, and you want to protect that I, and you being trembled, you being sort of threatened, because you have this self, what you call kind of craving, and you want to protect me. Say, while others are trying to save everyone, say you probably want to save yourself quickly first, not others. What do you think? Say 100 people are subjected to kind of a collapse. What's that? Earthquake. And say many are there, and say the who's that? Rescue team is now approaching, and they are simply taking the others. You are not noticed. What happened to you? So you want to show yourself, please, I am here, please take me out. I can't wait till the others, they are just, civilians, I am just a special person. So I have a strong attachment to myself, strong craving to myself, and I feel I am the important person. And if I ask you a question, who is the most lovable person for you? Say, is it your husband? Is it your... is your wife? Fiancé? Just ourselves. That's the question asked by King Kosala from Queen Mallika. So interestingly, Queen Mallika mentioned the truth. So King Kosala, as a loving husband, might expecting kind of an answer that she may tell, okay, just Majestic King, you are my most lovable person. But as a truth, Queen Mallika has mentioned, most lovable person in this whole world is myself. So you can imagine, we love ourselves, and we have attached to a person. So that person, when being trembled, when being sort of attacked, threatened, so I being sort of shocked, I'm disturbed, I'm agitated. So the I comes out. Strong I can come out. So when things are everything is fine, everything is smooth, no threat, then you are not much highlighted. I is not highlighted. But the moment kind of a threat happens, so I being sort of highlighted. So therefore this I-ness, the craving for I, being a person, indicates that kind of a tendency is there for kind of a trembling. Tendency is there for wavering. And we can call it like perturbation. Kind of a disturbance is there. So when craving is highlighted, so I am being disturbed. So I need it, I want it. Suppose that you are going through a supermarket and there's a very interesting commodity. Immediately you feel, oh, I want it. So that I was not somewhere, I was kind of not highlighted till you see that commodity, whatever interesting costume or whatever it is. But the moment you saw that, as a huge craving appears, then I want it. Without that, I can't survive. Without her, I can't survive. Without him, I can't live. So the I highlighted when craving is highlighted. Craving is operated. So you can see, so the craving is a factor generating a lot of such kind of perturbation, kind of an agitation, disturbance within ourselves. The moment craving highlights, I'm being disturbed. I comes out, person comes out, individuality comes out. So that is what, these are the two areas that we discussed last month. Now we can discuss the today's topic, and further Buddha mentioned what I have taken as the topic, asmiti bhikkhave pandita meta. Ayang ahang asmiti pandita meta. So there is a kind of a palpitation, trembling again, kind of a shocking going on internally, and whenever it happens, again I comes out, a person comes out, ego comes out. Now we need to explore a little bit why it is happening. So basically, we tempt to attach to something. And suppose you as a small kid, say while you are a small infant, to whom are you attached to? To your mother, to your father. So you are so attached. And we like to attach and we want attachment. And you as a little kid, as an infant, you are helpless and you are very innocent. You can't survive yourself. Mother had to feed you. And you are so attached. And you want that dependency. You are dependent on parents. And suppose now you are growing. Now assume that you are at the age of 5, 6 something. Now again you are dependent on maybe certain sports, and you have your, say, family members. You dependent on your sister, your brother, maybe your friends. So now again you are dependent. You want to attach to them. You want to depend on them. Now suppose you are further growing. Now you become little youthful, maybe 15, 16. Now you are a teenager. Now you have your own other desires. So your desires are now varying and you are attached to various other things, different styles, different desires. So many attachments. So mind very much imagine on those things. So I am with this, I am with that. So much of attachments. By attaching, what are we expecting? Maybe safety. Like say a small infant, a kid, when he is attached to a mother. So he may be expecting kind of a safety. So without safety, so he can't survive. So he is so attached to the father, so attached to the mother. So attached to the, say, teacher. So likewise we are growing. As we are growing, so our attachments are also changing. So we are dependent every time with different things. Not the same thing. As an infant, maybe you are dependent on parents. As a child, maybe you are dependent on the, say, education. maybe sports, friends, etc. Say as a teenager, you are still dependent on maybe education, your future ambitions. And maybe as another person, say you become another adult, assume that now you have a loved one, your partner, now you are dependent on him, dependent on her. And if she being disturbed, being attacked, what happened to you? And now suppose you are becoming a parent. And now assume that you are a housewife, you are a householder. And now you have wife, you have husband. And assume that if there is a kind of a disturbance to your wife, to your husband, what happened to you? Suppose now you have children, and if your child is subjected to a terminal illness, what happened to you? Now suppose you are a person who is with a good job. You are so dependent on that job, that is your remuneration, that is your monthly income. All of a sudden you lost the job. What happened to you? So what I want to highlight here is whenever we are dependent on something, what happened to us? So we are so dependent from our childhood. As we are growing, we are not independent. We are not free. We always want something to latch on. We always want something to lean on to. We always want something to hold on to. We always want something to grasp. But unfortunate thing is what we are grasping, what we are holding, what we are attached are all subject to change. And we are expecting safety, we are expecting kind of a stability by attaching, by holding, by grasping, by depending. But what we are using to depend, what we are using to attach, what we are using to hold are all quite vulnerable, are all quite impermanent, all subject to change. Then to the person who is attached, to the person who is holding, to the person who is grasping, ultimately he is the one going to suffer. So you can understand, so even though we want attachment, even though we are habitually attaching, even though we are habitually grasping, even though we are habitually holding, so what is the result? Result is suffering. Result is kind of you become quite vulnerable. I mean, you are holding so much of, say, very weak, feeble kind of structure, and you are fully dependent on that. That feeble structure, whenever within a sight of a second, if it is broken, you will collapse. So as human beings, so we like to be dependent, we like to hold, and what we think, I am free, I am a free person, I am a free thinker, blah blah blah, I'm talking big. But we are so dependent. And we are so dependent, as a result of that, so much suffering is there, so much agitation is there, so much kind of what we call pandita, palpitation is there. So now you can see, if we are attached into something which is impermanent, if we are attached into something which is vulnerable, if we are attaching something which is kind of temporary, then we are the ones going to suffer. And interestingly, the moment that to what we are attached, when that particular thing, that particular person changes, we being felt, I am. So I comes out the moment to what I am attached being trembled, that being changed, that becomes kind of impermanent. But we are continuously attaching, we continue to attach, we continue to become dependent, we continue to become associate, expecting happiness, expecting solidity, expecting stability. Can't you understand we are like fools? Isn't it? We are continually attached, but what we attach are subjected to change, subjected to become otherwise. But we continue to attach, continue to hold, continue to grasp. And the moment it change, moment it become otherwise, now I become sort of trembled. I become shocked. I become disturbed. Now I comes out. So therefore Buddha mentioned, Asmiti bhikkhave pandita metang. So this I am comes out as a result of this kind of a palpitation happens. This kind of a disturbance happen. This kind of a, say, shocking or changing happens, I comes out. So I am is a result of this change. I am is a result of this kind of, say, palpitation, this kind of trembling. So that's why we are immediately trying to hold to another thing. Say we are holding one thing and that's being changed, that's being subject to some sort of a disaster. So we found it's not safe. Now I am holding another thing, expecting safety. So how about the new thing? And we think it will provide me safety. And there's an interesting story about Nasruddin. So, you know Nasruddin? I haven't seen him. So one day, so he was continuously eating chili. And while eating chili, what happened? And one chili after another chili. And he has a bag of chilies. And he's putting his hand and picking one chili, eating. That's done. He's taking another chili, eating, done. Next one, keep going on. Now he become, watering his mouth and, phlegm comes out because chili, chili, right? So now one of his friend approach him. What the fool are you? What are the hell are you doing? Why are you eating these chilies? No, maybe there may be a sweet chili. I'm expecting that. So you mind your own business. I am expecting the sweet chili. There may be a sweet chili in this bag of chilies. And are we different from Nasruddin? So we are always expecting, okay, next government will do the best. Okay, next president will do the best. Okay, next world, next life will be the best. This is I couldn't do it well. Okay, maybe next life. Isn't that the imagination we have? I mean, assume that in this life I can't do it. I feel kind of miserable. My parents are, say, not rich. They can't do well. I mean, I am not born to a well-to-do family. Maybe next life, why not? Next life, maybe. The same thing. So maybe next job. So this job is not good. I mean, now they are cutting a lot of taxes. Maybe I better find a different job where it is not being taxed. Maybe that may give me more satisfaction. Not this wife, maybe another wife. Whatever it is. So you can imagine, I mean, how our mind is sort of thinking, always expecting kind of a satisfaction from a very vulnerable situation, from a very vulnerable person, from a very vulnerable thing. So we keep going on, eating chilies, expecting a sweet chili. So that is what we are going on. And since they are quite vulnerable, since they are constantly changing, impermanent, we being shocked, we being disturbed, I comes out, I am comes out. Now, the opposite is also there. So there is one occasion, Channa, Venerable Channa, was deceased and he became quite ill. And he is now on deathbed. And there's a message he sent to Venerable Sariputta. Venerable Sariputta seems to be a very compassionate person, the elder. And Venerable Sariputta accompanying Venerable Mahachunda, they approach Venerable Channa. And now Venerable Sariputta is telling, are you doing well? Are you getting well? Is all the treatments are done really well? What do you feel? Are you feeling getting better? So what would be the answer? So Venerable Chanda says, no, I am doing really bad. So everything is collapsing. I am really in a bad situation. I am feeling really bad. I am feeling really serious. Things are getting worse and worse. So that is the answer given. And now Venerable Sariputta understood now he won't live for a long time. I better give the kind of a message which is more supreme. And he tried to instruct him not to establish his mind at any place. So that's the kind of a supreme kind of an advice that he tried to give. So he's telling, okay, don't establish your eye consciousness at any site. Don't establish ear consciousness at anything. Don't generate kind of thing. Don't establish your consciousness at any sight, any sound, any smells, any taste, any tangible, any thought. And while he is telling that, Venerable Chunda, accompanying monk, he actually want to give the gist. And he is telling, Nissitassa chalitang, anisitassa chalitang natti. Nissitassa chalitang. Now he is very much like catalyzing the effect. He is telling, Nissitassa chalitang. So that means for the person who is dependent and he is having kind of a wavering, as we have discussed. If you are dependent, you have to go through a kind of a wavering. You have to go through kind of a disturbance if you are dependent. But if you are not dependent, anisitassa chalitan natti. If you are not dependent, you are not going to any kind of such wavering. Now, if we take only this part, now through Satipatthana, if you can understand where we are heading towards. So we are heading towards this direction. So we may be using various, say, mundane things, various normal things, conceptual things. And we may start from that. Say, while you are in walking path, so you are using left, right, left, right. No, all these are quite conceptual things. Say, when your left foot is touching the ground, so you are verbalizing it as, okay, this is left. When your right foot is touching the ground, okay, this is right. Left foot is touching the ground, left, right, right. While doing like that, so you cut off unnecessary thinking, proliferation. As much as possible, you are now trying to bring your attention towards your body. So purposely we have to do it. Otherwise, the monkey mind will take our mind completely to outside. So in order to tame it, so we are using this left, right, or whatever the sensation available to our foot to tame the mind. And same thing in the mindful breathing. Say, in-breath happens, out-breath happens, in-breath happens, out-breath happens. Again and again, purposely, we are keeping our attention on breathing. So all the thinking become less and less. And mind become more collected towards breathing. Now suppose you are quite successful in that. Now you are capable of maintaining your attention for 100 successive breaths, 200 successive breaths. There are less disturbances, less distractions. And most of the time now mind is with the breath. Similarly, suppose you are walking. Now most of the time your attention is with walking. Now even here, what happens? Now you are less dependent, isn't it? So therefore you are less disturbed. So you are only dependent on, say, walking. Your whole attention is now fairly concentrated, limited to this walking process. And all the other perceptions, all other signs, all other news, as much as possible you are discarding. So your attention is somewhat simplified. So previously you are so dependent. You have your cell phone, you have your internet You have so many things, say TV, newspapers, so many things. And now you discard all those, and now you are simply taking your attention only to your body. Now even there, you can understand we have let go of too much distractions. We have let go of too much dependencies. Now our attention is somewhat dependent upon the body. Now after some time, now suppose you are capable of doing that, and now you are capable of keeping your attention for a long time, and now you being skillful in that activity. And now what we are going to do? Now you are investigating the whole process. That part has to be initiated. Otherwise mind simply become happy about even in this state. But without just happy there, you need to investigate the whole process, the current process. Say for example, you are investigating the walking process, how from left foot to the right foot the say weight transfers, and what are the sensations happen through your left foot, and hardness, softness, heaviness, lightness, so smoothness, grossness, all these different very primary kind of characteristics, as much as possible you are exploring, investigating. Now when you are doing that, now later mind becomes skillful in doing that, and your attention is fully into that. Now suppose you are doing breathing. Now you are investigating each in-breath, each out-breath, whether it is longer, whether it is shorter, whether it is warmer, whether it is cooler, whether it is the beginning, the middle, the end. So you are fully involved in that, you are fully investigating that phenomena, very subtle phenomena. So you are fully dependent on that. Doesn't matter. So everything else discarded, but you are fully dependent on that particular phenomena. Now say, as you are investigating that, now what happens? Now you start understanding its real nature. Say breath. Now previously you had the perception of in-breath or out-breath. Now it becomes kind of series of little breaths, series of movements, series of vibrations, series of changes, series of ups and downs, series of arising and passing away, series of vibrations. By seeing that, what are you understanding? The true nature, the real nature of this little phenomena. Even though it's a very subtle phenomena, even that subtle phenomena is representing the truth of the whole, say, physical world, isn't it? I mean, this breath is just a fragment of the whole physical world. Even that has that same characteristics of the whole magnitude of this whole physical world. And now you are carefully observing that. How quickly it is arising, how quickly it is passing away. How quickly it is arising, how quickly it is passing away. And suppose now you are keeping your attention to your very body. So various vibrations are happening in your body, and each and every vibration you are watching, exploring, examining, investigating. So different feelings you are going through. You understand, okay, now it was a pleasurable feeling, now it's a painful feeling, now equanimous feeling, now painful feeling, now equanimous feeling, now pleasurable feeling. By looking at it, by observing it, by carefully recognizing that whole process. So it's a kind of a learning process to the mind. So previously mind is with the wrong perception, or we can call it as a kind of a distortion available in the mind, thinking that this be a permanent thing, this be a kind of a self, this may be under my control, this may be provide me a kind of a satisfaction. But now it has an opportunity to investigate, to see for itself, to have a direct experience. Now kind of a perception starts changing. So that is the time your behavioral changes starts happening within you. Now you may be doing the process while at Kalalgoda, maybe on your cushion, maybe while walking. But the experience that the mind is taking, the lesson that mind is learning, start representing, start influencing all your behavior. So kind of a behavioral change has to happen within your character. So if it is happening, that means the medicine is working. If not, still the same old person, continuously grasping, expecting the sweet chili. But if you are investigating carefully each and every breath, each and every step, each and every sensation, each and every feeling, and even each and every thought, at Chittanupassana, say you are simply investigating each and every thought, now you have the capacity to step back and watch. You are simply step back and allowing thoughts to happen. You as a kind of a third person, you as a complete outsider, you allow thoughts to play and to show their true nature, to show their true behavior. You are not influencing them. You are not trying to discard them. You are not trying to suppress them. And you are not even inviting them. And you simply allow them to play. You simply investigate. You are simply a kind of an investigator. You want to see their true nature. That's it. So this is a learning process. We need to understand. So previously our mind was fairly deluded, fairly conditioned by wrong way of thinking because of various perversions, distortions. But now it has a capacity to rethink or to reprogram or to understand. Not being conditioned but from the various, advertisements, not through the cultural conditioning, not through the social conditioning, say traditional conditioning, different conditioning. Rather, now you do your own experiment. You are not taking any book knowledge here. You are not taking any kind of conditioning here. You do your own noble experiment, investigation. As a result, that what happens? There's an inner change starts happening. Assume that now it is growing slowly. That insights are growing. Now it's an insight practice. That's why it's called insight practice. Now you are observing various different kinds of phenomena, and they all show the same characteristic. Previously, you thought it may be only the physical characteristics, maybe only the feelings. But even now, you look at the mental feelings, kind of pleasantness, or happy, worry, sorrow, all different moods, emotions. Even those you start investigating. And previously you were thinking, okay, these emotions are so difficult to move or so difficult to bear. But even now, you are capable of looking at a particular emotion and you are capable of step back and watch. Allow it to naturally unfold. Allow it to naturally manifest. And then let it go by itself. You don't need to push. You don't need to suppress. Let it play as it like. And you are simply a silent observer. Now this is the place actually we can call as a non-judgmental observation. Where you are not doing any kind of, you are not putting your own script to that scenario. You are maintaining very, very unbiased attention, unbiased observation, and you allow these different phenomena to behave as they wish, as they like. Now, as a result of that, the internal knowledge, experiential knowledge, bhavaname jnana, experiential knowledge, meditative knowledge is now growing. Now, interesting thing here is that Buddha mentioned understanding leads to dispassion. Not for attachment, not for grasping, not for passion, but for dispassion. Understanding leads to dispassion. But the understanding with respect to the true things. It is not the kind of book knowledge that we gather through various degrees and all these diplomas, etc., where that understanding may promote further attachment, further grasping. But here the understanding is kind of a noble understanding. That you do your own noble quest, own noble investigation, and that understanding leads to dispassion, detachment, relinquishment. Now slowly, mind start unattaching things, discarding things, not holding things, not attaching things. Now you can understand complete sapping happens within the mentality. Previously it is always want to grasp, always want to hold, always want to possess. Now mind will do a complete opposite. It now slowly let go, slowly abandon, slowly let it go, slowly relinquish. It is not forceful letting go. It is not that you are trying to forcefully suppress. It is not you are trying to command the mind to let go. Rather, mind through its own understanding, through its own experiential understanding, he understood no point of holding, no point of attaching, no point of grasping. So that understanding is the mental understanding or internal understanding. It is not kind of a superficial understanding that we gain through various books and other things. Now this is a more strong, internal, insightful understanding. So that insightful understanding starts the complete opposite process. Now it is slowly letting go, slowly abandoning, slowly relinquishing. Now suppose you are doing Kayanupassana and you are capable of doing this whole process successfully. Again and again you are watching various phenomena, physical phenomena, and as a result of that slowly this understanding is growing. And when it's coming to a kind of a culmination, suppose it relinquish the whole body. No physical things at all to attach. Now what can happen? It can grasp something mental, right? Say there's a pleasurable feeling, there may be a pleasant feeling. It can grasp that. So that's the problem. So we are subject to grasping, no? So even though you understood, okay, all these physical phenomena are quite vulnerable, no point, I can't maintain, they don't belong to me and they are beyond my control. So all that understanding is growing. But still mind might think, okay, why not the mental phenomena? Isn't it? So that is where we need further practice with Chittanupassana, Dhammanupassana, even Vedananupassana, the early, later stages, where even the mental phenomena now we need to see how they behave. That's why in Chittanupassana I mentioned, okay, allow mind to think, and you as a silent observer, you need to recognize how they are playing, how they are behaving, how they come and go, how they arise and pass away. And there you may understand, okay, they are not growing to the level of emotions. They are not growing to the level of strong feelings. They simply come and go at their early stages, now they are disappearing. And now thoughts are happening like very fragments of thoughts, not the full thoughts even. Only a fragment of thought and it's gone. You are simply watching, but it's simply peaking and then going out. Simply coming and it's going. So transient. Now you even investigate these different mental phenomena. Assume now that understanding is also growing. With respect to various mental phenomena, understanding is growing, even these things are useless. No point of attaching. I can't hold them. I can't depend on them. Now what else is available? Suppose now assume that you relinquish all the physical phenomena. Now all different feelings also you relinquished. Various signs also relinquished. And you feel, no point of desiring. Now what happened? So what is available to hold? Nothing to hold. So what happened to you? Don't you feel frightened? You have nothing to hold? I want something to hold. Like when you are traveling by a bus, what are you holding? I want something to hold, right? The bus is always, jumping, changing, and you want to hold something. But you have nothing to hold right now. Mind has let go of everything. So this is the moment the Sakkaya Ditthi comes out. So if we have the personality view, so now personality view being sort of threatened, so you feel agitated when the mind lets go everything. So very beautiful scenario here, explained in the Uddesa Vibhanga Sutta. So Venerable Mahakachana mentioned, now when mind starts letting go, so the Sakkaya Ditthi, the personality view become threatened, starts trembling. Because you want to hold, you want something. You want to maintain yourself. My thing, my personality, my body, my perceptions, my feelings, my creativity, my. So everything is now, mind is letting go. You have nothing. So that is where you can feel trembled. You can feel shocked. And the moment it can happen, you feel kind of, you lost your orientation. Like say while you are traveling by plane, all of a sudden you encounter, what's that, low pressure area. Boom. What happened to you? Like it's collapsing, right? Like that, roller coaster? So when the roller coaster, when you are going, so when you are coming to the one side, say you can't see, you don't have a footing. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, it's really shocking. And you are. I mean, when it is climbing, you have something to hold, right? If you have that experience, say when you are going through the roller coaster, you have something to hold, and you are quite stable. And there's a rod. You are on that, and now it is taking the turn. Nothing is there. That is the trembling happens. Sakkaya Ditthi comes out. So that is the moment, actually we can recognize, okay, still we are bound, still we are holding, still we hope to have something, still we are bound. So again and again this has to happen. So the first time you feel frightened, you came back. Again you hold something. Came back means you are again holding something. You can't have nothing. You can't have you want some kind of a footing. The moment you feel no footing, nothing to hold, nothing to establish, nothing to support, you feel lost, you feel kind of abandoned. There is no footing. You feel trembled. So again you go back, again hold. And again you are practicing. Now this is very interesting. Again you are practicing. Practicing will bring you to where? Abandonment, letting go, relinquishment. Again you get the same experience. Again you felt trembled, shocked. Again you go and hold. But now you feel a little familiarized with this experience, isn't it? I mean, I can come back, no, anyway. Nothing has happened, and probably you can touch your hand and see, okay, nothing lost. Still the hands are available, still legs are available, nothing has lost. Next day also, okay, you are now, making some kind of a courage, okay, let's go, let's dive and go, something like that. Jnanarama Bhante used to say, Ona gini angurak vecha, whatever happened, come go Chicago. Let's jump. So next day, again you are practicing, and again jump. Nothing is holding, nothing is there. Okay, you are successfully going through the roller coaster. So that is the moment, probably, the Sakkaya Ditthi is broken. You become no one. At that moment, nothing is there. But nothing has happened, and probably after some time you come out. Probably you can touch yourself and see nothing has happened. Everything is available, no problem. Only you are not there during that time. So everything was quite smooth. Everything is successful. Kind of a voyage has done. And a different kind of an experience. Where nothing to hold, nothing to bear with, nothing to dependent on. So that is the place Buddha mentioned, Anissitocha Vihirati. where you are now have nothing to associate. Nachakinchi loke upadit. You are not holding anything in the world. Even in Satipatthana Sutta, you can understand where Buddha is taking us, where the direction is given. Maybe in Kayanupassana, maybe in Vedananupassana, maybe in Chittanupassana, maybe in Dhammanupassana. Again and again, repeatedly mention, okay, you go this direction. Don't be afraid. Jump. So I stop here. So I invite you to jump. And with that, I like to conclude today's Dhamma sermon. Yeah, thank you very much for listening. Yeah. Satipatthana Sutta. That is Uddesa Vibhanga Sutta. Uddesa Vibhanga Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya, third book. So, interesting point is, even though the mind is ready to detach, even though the mind is ready to abandon, means not grasping, still till the Sakkaya Ditthi is available, you can't bear it. You feel agitated, you feel threatened, you feel disturbed. Because Sakkaya Ditthi always want to have something. So the going to the next stage is breakage of the Sakkaya Ditthi, and even nothing is there to hold, nothing is there to attach, there is no footing, still you are peaceful. I mean, you can imagine what a kind of a teaching that Buddha is telling. What a kind of a brave teaching in another way. I mean, we always think that I want to hold, I am dependent. Continuously we are dependent. So that's why we started from being an infant, that we are dependent on parents. As a child, we are dependent on our, say, teacher, maybe our school, our sports, different things. As a teenager, we are dependent on our other, maybe, say, our friends. Maybe as a young person, I am dependent on my fiancé, my fiancée. Maybe as a grown-up, I am dependent on my wife, my children, my house, my job. Continuously we are dependent. Now here the moment, kind of independence. So in other terms, there are certain statements that we are fear of freedom. We are afraid of freedom. When freedom happens, you want to go back. Again back to the cell, back to the prison, back to holding, back to grasping. The moment we feel, okay, let me jump, boom, done. Very interesting how Buddha is giving his teaching. So it's a kind of a brevity is necessary to jump. And that is where, I mean, that doesn't mean that everything is done. It doesn't mean that everything is, you are becoming arahant. But at least a different kind of experience, that the whole orientation has changed. Whole context has changed. Like the moment that the tortoise has now understood, yes, I can live on the earth as well. I don't need to fully depend on water. Isn't it? The tortoise has that capacity. But the moment, the very first day, he may be afraid. Something like that. Okay, so we'll wind up from there. And today there's a little sharing of merits. Punyanumodanaava. දැනට මාස එකමාරකට පෙර අභාවයට පත් වූ විද්‍යාරත්න සොහයුරාට මල්ලීට පරලෝ සුගතිය වේවා. ඊතාක්මන් භවයක නිර්වාණ අවබෝධය වේවා. අප සියලු දෙනාටද ඊතාක්මනින් සසර දුකින් මිදී නිවන් අවබෝධය පිණිස මේ කුසලය හේතු වේවා. දානමය කුසලයේ දායකත්වය සහෝදරිය විසින්. So that is the sharing of merit with respect to today's dana. And today also we all gathered here and tried to the best of our ability, develop mindfulness, concentration, wisdom, and participated in the Dhamma discussion and listen to Dhamma sermon. And all the merits that we have accrued, let's share with all these merits with our past relatives, all the celestial beings, and whoever in need of merits. And let's help these merits to attain path, fruition, nibbana. While keeping these good wishes in our mind, let's recite the traditional verses. එත්තාවතාච අම්හෙහි සම්බතං පුඤ්ඤ සම්පදං සම්මේ දේවා අනුමෝදන්තු සබ්බ සම්පatti සිද්ධියා එත්තාවතාච අම්හෙහි සම්බතං පුඤ්ඤ සම්පදං සම්මේ භූතා අනුමෝදන්තු සබ්බ සම්පatti සිද්ධියා එත්තාවතාච අම්හෙහි සම්බතං පුඤ්ඤ සම්පදං සම්මේ සත්තා අනුමෝදන්තු සබ්බ සම්පatti සිද්ධියා ආකාසට්ඨා ච බුම්මට්ඨා දේවානාගා මහින්దికා පුඤ්ඤන්තං අනුමෝදිත්වා චිරං රක්ඛන්තු ශාසනං ආකාසට්ඨා ච බුම්මට්ඨා දේවානාගා මහින්దికා පුඤ්ඤන්තං අනුමෝදිත්වා චිරං රක්ඛන්තු දේශනං ආකාසට්ඨා ච බුම්මට්ඨා දේවානාගා මහින්దికා පුඤ්ඤන්තං අනුමෝදිත්වා චිරං රක්ඛන්තු මම් පරං ඉදං වෝ ඥාතීනං හෝතු සුඛිතා හොන්තු ඥාතයෝ ඉදං වෝ ඥාතීනං හෝතු සුඛිතා හොන්තු ඥාතයෝ ඉදං වෝ ඥාතීනං හෝතු සුඛිතා හොන්තු ඥාතයෝ ඉමිනා පුඤ්ඤ කම්මේන මාමේ බාල සමාගමෝ සතං සමාගමෝ හෝතු යාව නිබ්බාන පත්තියා ඉමිනා පුඤ්ඤ කම්මේන මාමේ බාල සමාගමෝ සතං සමාගමෝ හෝතු යාව නිබ්බාන පත්තියා ඉමිනා පුඤ්ඤ කම්මේන මාමේ බාල සමාගමෝ සතං සමාගමෝ හෝතු යාව නිබ්බාන පත්තියා සාදු සාදු සාදු